Hey guys, welcome back. It is Unpopular Opinions in Pokemon number 33. As always, check out Sakari's YouTube channel. He is the creator of this thread. We're getting there. We're quite of the way, quite a ways into it here. What are we at? January 25th, 2022 at the start of this one. So we're catching up. We will someday get to the end of it. We're a whole lot more relevant here than we have been in previous episodes, obviously. So keep in mind, that's the time frame that we're looking at. First up, Octane with 2 A's. Says, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. Gym Series, Team Rocket, and Neo are the peak of Pokemon. Some sets during the Nintendo EX era came close, but WotC reigns supreme. Very subjective. I would say that most people, I think when they're starting out, if they collected or were around for WotC and then they're getting back in the hobby, they're typically going to be WotC dogs, and this is kind of no different. So I would assume that the Octane is probably in that boat, but you never know. Some people maybe just like the WotC era. Maybe you weren't around for it. Maybe you still like it the best, but I think there's a lot to appreciate in every single era. Cayman says, most modern trophies look kind of lame. I can see a lot of people probably saying that, especially the ones that don't, appreciate the 5-band, the full art, half art, whatever you want to call it, like Pikachu's. I don't know. I don't think that the trophies look any more, better or worse than a lot of the cards that are within the sets, but that's just the thing. I think the significance is there, that it's more so that something that's won, especially if you were the person that won it. Your full art Pikachu probably looks a whole lot better in your eyes. Explorer says, here's my essay on one which seems to be truly unpopular, but one I truly believe. The bright yellow borders on English cards are better than the borders on Japanese cards. So this is, again, one of those things. It comes up all the time. The yellow borders don't bother me at all. Do I think they're better or worse? I don't really care. Personally, I can look past the borders. I like the fact that the backs haven't changed on cards over the years. Well, at least on the English side. And I kind of like the fact that the yellow borders have been around for almost the entirety of always. So, personally, I don't think they take away from anything on the card. I think people, it's a stretch to think that they do. But here we have their iconic. If I see a glimpse of the border of any bright yellow bordered Pokemon card, I know it's a Pokemon card. With a glimpse of the border of a Japanese card, it could be any old trading card. They're consistent. Japanese has had dirty off yellow, bright yellow, white, gray, silver over the years. English is stuck with bright yellow, HDSS aside. 3. While Japanese borders are largely inoffensive, the English bright yellow really pops and takes some cards to the next level. Misty Gyarados and Gold Star Metagross are some of my favorite examples of this off the top of my head. Come forth, Coverts. So, yeah, I mean, some are going to look a little bit better or worse. If it has yellow on the card, or if it's like a fire type, I feel like the yellow works a lot better with it. Yeah, I don't know. It's really a non-issue for me. I don't mind. I'd even like to see some like E-Series borders come back in some way, or something that wild and crazy, something different in the next era, the upcoming era. So we'll see what they do there. I feel like they haven't done anything really risky in a while, so we'll see what they do. We'll see how they turn out. Hopefully it's a little different, like when they change things up, and see how people feel about it. Rita Fan says, the concept of shiny Pokemon was cool for 1 year when Gold/Silver came out. The concept should have been retired right after. So that's interesting. I can't say that I haven't shiny hunted. I'm not like a super shiny hunter plus that I'm going to spend hours and hours resetting or looking for shinies, especially like complete shiny decks or whatever. But I see the attractiveness. It's kind of cool, especially if you're just playing through and you accidentally like come across one. It's but it's an exciting thing to accidentally come across. I think it's good mechanic. I also think Megas should have stuck around, but those are gone. So they do have their gimmicks, but that is one of the gimmicks that seem to never go away. Dragon Page. My boy Polyrath should have been in Battle Styles. I think that would have been pretty cool. Every time a new set is released, I scan through the new cards like a kid on Christmas morning, only to find that I didn't get any presents. Once I heard the newest set was going to be called Battle Styles, and it was fighting themed, I knew it was finally time for my reunion with Polygraph. Womp womp. Yeah, sorry about your luck. I'm still waiting for my Wawa LV, so, you know, at least you're in the same boat as I am. Ray says, I want to share a bit of personal story that will tie into an unpopular opinion. Back in 2018-2019, I got back into collecting. I started with some Shining Legends and Ultra Shiny GX. I was just collecting fun shiny cardboard on the side while going to college. I was 19, started getting deeper into collecting and discovered the World Japanese promos and had my eyes set on the Mario/Luigi boxes. At the time, they were out of my reach. You could get both boxes for around $500, if I remember correctly. For a broke college student living on their own, it was too much for me, and I told myself I would get the boxes when I was more financially stable. Well, we all know what happened to the boxes, and I missed my chance to buy them. I was pretty bummed about it for a while. I kept thinking that I should have pulled the trigger. I thought I should have just eaten ramen for a few months. I should have known the prices would go up, etc. I laughed at myself now for thinking in hindsight that I should have been financially irresponsible as a broke college student, but I digress. The chase is one of the most fun parts about collecting. Nothing would be exciting if it was easy to get, and cards can get stale fast. I realize that I have my whole life to collect. I just turned 24. I didn't miss out on anything, and there will be an opportunity to get those cards I want in the future. I guess my unpopular opinion is that not having a lot of funds can make collecting more fun and exciting. So I agree. I think in terms of like a goal, you should set something that's pretty realistic, but also it's got to be a challenge. If it's not a challenge, then like what's the point? If you had all the money to just buy a complete set of, like, say you wanted first edition base, you had the money to buy a PSA 10 set, you just go buy the PSA 10 set, and then that's all you wanted and you're done. Not that exciting, but you know, if you had to scramble, you had to trade your way up, you had to save up for the individual pieces, you put it together, a little bit more rewarding. But yeah, that's pretty much how that works, I think. With anything, if you're not putting work into it, or if you just like straight up have the money to just buy it all at once, it's probably not going to be as fun. Or there's a lot of people that like grade that stuff themselves. Sorry for anyone that's looking at this and can't unsee it. AP Spees says, I love Houndoom, but the new character rare from VMAX Climax falls a bit flat for me, specifically the Houndoom's head/neck. Every time I see it, I imagine it without its mouth, and it reminds me of a charred hot dog. Here's what I mean. So I've seen a lot of this bad boy Houndoom. I don't know about anyone else, but I pulled a lot of him, specifically right at the beginning. It seemed like I was pulling nothing but Houndooms. but yeah, that's it. Next we have Gotar, who says, every card within a rarity should have the same pull rate, at least within a set. I'm quite certain that it does. There's not really any reason for it not to be. Unless, I would say that unless it's something like a Celebrations obviously had certain cards that were easier to pull than others. But in terms of like if you're looking at Rainbow Rares or, you know, Rainbow Rare Pokemon in like a Sword and Shield set, or even like alt arts, I would imagine all the alt arts are the same rate of pulling. You might not want to believe it, but I'd say that's probably the case. There's not really any incentive. Not that there's no incentive, but typically there's not really any reason for the Pokemon Company going, to skew that. It's like Burning Shadows. Like the Charizard, the hyper rare Charizard has the same pull rate as the other hyper rares. Quite sure. But yeah, even the stupid diagrams that come out where they're like, oh, we opened 2,000 packs of these newer sets. And like when you have cards that are like 1 in 600 packs or 1 in 1,000 packs, you can't just open a couple thousand packs. even 10,000. If you have stuff that's 1 in 1,000 packs, you can't do even 10,000 and give real numbers. That's just not how it works, because you can't. It can be skewed. It's just like if I pull 2 of the same holo in a row, it doesn't mean that holo is more, readily available or more printed than the other ones. It all comes down to coincidence. There's no single person that is opening enough product to actually give you the true values, because as I've said a billion times, it's all about sample size. And when you have stuff that's as rare as what the current stuff is in terms of single card pull rate, your sample size needs to be so disgustingly large that even the biggest store that's breaking boxes probably can't give you a real number. Randox says EX era 2003 to 2007 is the peak of Pokemon sets. Neo and E-Series WotC are similarly as good, but my bias puts them a touch below. Things went downhill hard post-EX era, and I think DP/PT is so backwards for a set/era that immediately follows stuff like Gold Stars, Delta Types, and those gold embossed reverse rares. So I really like lv.x's, so I'm going to give you the hard disagree. EX era is great too. I really like the reverses from EX era. The ones with like the set symbol and the weird, wacky changing up the foil pattern. That they kind of look more like a holo than they do a reverse holo. But I like those. I like that era, that it was different. I like the fact that it doesn't have holo on the entire card. It makes it a lot easier to collect nice copies that aren't scratched to oblivion. But yeah, Fazul says first edition stamps are probably the most overrated thing in any hobby. So, I would say that they're definitely one of the most overrated things in terms of Pokemon. Largely because you can get the same card without that stamp on it. The stamp is, it's a rarity symbol more than it is any, added value in terms of if you're not like reselling it or anything like that. If you're not getting as much enjoyment out of a shadowless Charizard as you are a first edition Charizard, then you're probably doing it wrong, or you're just you're obsessed with this next level of rarity. In any hobby, I'd say probably not. There's a lot of weird sports stuff where there's backgrounds and crap like that. That's just like a different color background. What is it? The Marvel junk where like Spider-Man has a different color behind him and it makes it more rare, more valuable. I guess we see a little bit of that within modern Pokemon anyway, with the rainbow rare recolors and the shiny recolors and stuff like that. But typically that's just like straight up the background. It'd be like having Sun and Moon era full arts, but you have a different color in the background. Magic is kind of like way over the board with that. Numbered cards, that's stupid stuff. Keep that out of Pokemon. Get it away from me. Card games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just like forced rarity. And this day and age, there's no way you could have first edition stamps. It would just end up being a mess. The game stores would keep them all. They would like charge extra for them. That, or they would be overprinted and it would mean almost nothing. Then you could have like sets where there's probably more first edition than there are unlimited. Talking to you, Japanese Pokemon. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of pointless. There's enough rarity within the single cards, the single chase cards within Pokemon at this point in time that it's basically not feasible for anyone to open their own sets and even to trade for or buy binder sets of modern Pokemon. It's financially ridiculous. Compared to like the initial releases back in the WotC days, where base set you could probably open a booster box and a half and have your complete set. Not so much anymore. Card games. Seal collection is probably the most overrated thing in the hobby, in any hobby. I kind of agree. I think if you're exclusively collecting seal product, it's kind of a boring collection. It is cool to see all the different eras of like booster boxes or whatever, if you have like one of each on display. But I think if you're choosing that over collecting the actual cards inside themselves, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. But again, it's up to Up to whoever's collecting it. If it's your collection and that's what you enjoy, then by all means do that. Usually if someone's collecting sealed stuff and not collecting the cards themselves to some extent, they're probably a flip dipper. They're just looking to stonk it. Celery says, a lot of the drama happening is providing me entertainment. Well, glad to hear. I'm sure that's probably a popular opinion, if I had to guess. Now, Inasuma says, Rattle should have never gone after Graded Gem / GG over the lost package ordeal. I don't know if you watched all the videos, but hard to disagree. GG's response really made Rattle look sloppy. Hopefully it's a lesson learned. Alright, so didn't think we were going to get back into this, but we'll get back into this. If you think his actions, Connor's actions, at any point were professional, you lost me. Because not telling the customers about their cards being lost for an extended period of time, I don't know if it was a few months, pretty ridiculous. As is, not having the correct insurance and or money set aside to repay customers right away. Also, another big old X there for our boy Connor. Losing his partnership with PSA. While GG customer cards still with PSA. By creating a competing grading company. Big old red penis. And then overall, fighting with me instead of spending that time fixing the issues. Big old red penis with an X over top of it. Just in general, I think leaving Graded Gem or ditching Graded Gem without finishing everything first, unprofessional, unacceptable. No matter how you want to look at it, you can cry all you want on video. What did he say? That he's just a poor postman or some stupid shit like that? No. Suck it. I'm glad that it might have pushed him in the direction of fixing things with the customers. But no, you can't just have a business, like push it and sweep it under the rug because you don't like it anymore. Fix it. Tie all the loose ends. Then move on and make your junk slab creation studio or whatever you want to call it. That's it. Next, Dragon Warrior says, this might not be unpopular here, but I think it's nowadays considering how prominent YouTube openings are. But I think that the pack trick is a lame gimmick that only exists to extend YouTube video length for ad revenue. Maybe, I don't know if it's necessarily for the ad revenue, the extra suspense. I don't know why you need to see those few cards first. Oftentimes people end up screwing it up anyway. I don't know. It's not really necessary. I'm happy to look at the hit, and then I'll take a look at the uncommons afterwards in the code card. I don't need to guess the energy. I'm not 6. Cerulean with a wall of text. So maybe we'll just we'll hit the first little paragraph here, and then we'll hit the TLDR at the end. Not sure if this is an unpopular opinion, probably just more of a statement that people may disagree with in general. I don't think PSA will get as flooded with submissions once it opens its bulk/value tier as much as people expect. I don't think so either, because by the time they do that, I think we're already swimming in junk slabs, and the market has cooled off to the point that hopefully the people that are left over are the actual people that were around or that are planned to be around enough and pay attention enough to know that it's not free tendy 69s anymore at PSA, just sending anything and everything in. Sorry, your bulk commons and uncommons in like your PSA 6 and 7s. I get it, they're WotC, they're old, but that's a waste of money. When the card doesn't cost as much as the submission, you probably shouldn't be sending the card in. Now, different story when everyone goes full bananas in 2020 and is overpaying for anything and everything that's in a hard plastic case. It made sense, I guess. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we're already back to the point where it's making financial sense for people like myself to buy and crack stuff out because you guessed it, you paid grading fees, you wasted time, or maybe it got sold and then the person got burned by buying it during the hype dog 69 era. But too long didn't read. I'm not seeing the flood. I think PSA will be just fine once it reopens the bulk tier, and barring another Black Swan event, I don't think we'll ever see what happened in 2020 or in 2021 ever again. So I mean, that's the thing, like the whole prices shooting up and the demand for graded cards, everyone is just like, I want slabs, put slabs in my butt. And yeah, it's just not going to be the case anymore. It's going to be like your high graded, anything like that, where you're going to see like added value. Specifically 10s. There's a point in time before all the hype where it was like, if you're sending something in and you don't think it's going to get a 10, you're probably going to lose money on it. You're probably not adding any value, and you probably don't submit that. But there's, well, it's hard to say. There's a lot of stuff that can be sent in now that makes more sense. It's just going to be a whole different... People will have to adjust or recognize what they should be sending and what they shouldn't be sending. Just grading in general is not free tendies. Just because the price goes down doesn't make it free tendies again. You gotta know what you're sending. You gotta know what it's gonna grade. You gotta have some sort of expectation because you're spending money and time, regardless of the turnaround time. If you don't know what you're doing, it's a very easy peasy noob trap, and you might as well be doing the PWCC CGC money dump where they grade and sell things for you. Speed up the whole process, and then you can lose money faster. Stirs says, probably not an unpopular opinion, but more a controversial one. Base set Mewtwo would be worth 50% more to collectors if it had 80 HP and a total useless attack requiring lightning and fire energies that did 50 plus damage. Yeah, so if Mewtwo had big numbers on him, I think he'd be more of a stonk dogger. And that's kind of cool too, because if you think about it, if he had just numbers that were higher than Charizard, he would probably be the big dog. And then maybe we would see more Mewtwo's in every set with extra value, kind of the way that we see Charizards now. It all stemmed from that playground. It all stemmed from the anime. Charizard ended up being super strong. He was edgy. Little kids love edgy stuff. Edgy fire lizard for the win. And then on top of that, with the card having big stonking numbers, when no one knows how to play the game, they see the big numbers and they think, F yeah, this is what I want. Same with Arcanine in the base set, where he had big numbers. People wanted Arcanine even though he was an uncommon. All right, my invisible Gatorade hydration. Nekuyo says, unpopular opinion, we need more cards of the fossil Pokemon. I think that would be cool. They need a new mechanic in game and some new cards to do them justice. I'm still waiting for a single cool card of Armaldo or Caracosta. Some Pokemon like the OGs Kabutops and our Lord Helix have cool cards, but I'm still waiting for a full out Armaldo. So we did we get was it a Caracosta V or GX? It wasn't anything like super fancy or playable. But yeah, I think a lot of these other older Pokemon from in all over the place, they get some more attention there. I like very much that we had that Machamp V alternate art. We had the Beedrill alternate art. Love it. Give some weird old Pokemon. Maybe they're not fan favorites. Give them some Smack Daddy awesome art. And these alternate arts and chase cards. Love it. Love to see it. Beautiful stuff. I get that, like, newest era, they need to be like showcasing like Sword and Shield sets for the large majority. Had to showcase the Sword and Shield Pokemon that never had cards before. But yeah. Gary Headlock says PSA's dominance is mostly due to brand loyalty and has nothing to do with the actual grading of the card. So, well, I mean, in terms of like established stuff, you also, once it's, I don't think it's necessarily brand loyalty. It also comes down to if people are collecting sets, if they already have PSA cards, if they're, I mean, if they're the most reliable, I mean, no grading company is really all that reliable when you think about it, and none of them spend very much time grading your card, whether it's looking at condition, looking at whether it's real or not. They got to pump those things through as fast as possible in order to make money. But yeah, it might be brand loyalty. People already having PSA cards, people having expectations on what the grades are going to give, even though there are plenty of misgrades. But when it becomes the standard, I think it becomes a standard than anything else. And then also there was very little straying outside of the PSA market. Keep in mind, PSA at one point in time didn't give a shit about Pokemon cards. It's right in the name. The P does not stand for Pokemon. The S does stand for sports. So them accepting, and then the people that were first grading, starting it off there, I think had a large part to do with why most of it was there. In recent times, you've seen a lot more people, pushing into BGS or CGC. Well, CGC wasn't around, but into the other grading companies because they couldn't grade at PSA, and it was free tendies to put your plastic or put your cardboard in plastic. So I think it'll revert back to mostly PSA being the one that you get the most value back. I mean, it always was. It just wasn't a feasible option to send a card away to get it back in a year or two. Kurodu says, not TCG based, but I'm absolutely baffled by people's positive reaction to Legend Arceus. The game is dry, boring, and I've played RPGs from 20 plus years ago that beat this hands down. I heavily agree. I get not everything is perfect, but the overwhelming positive reaction to the game has me so confused. So there are definitely some good aspects. I'm not even going to complain about the artwork or the graphics of the game itself. I think those are fine. I just don't like the game's mechanics. I don't want to catch 100 Bidoofs. I don't want to catch 100 of every Pokemon. That's not how I want to play a Pokemon game. It's the same way with the mechanics with Pokemon Go when it came out. I don't want to tap on my Lapras to squirt your dude a million times. That's not a Pokemon game. Even I just want normal Pokemon mechanics in terms of battles, fighting, leveling, whatever. I don't want to catch 100 of something. I want to maybe catch one of something if I want to do the decks, but definitely not 100. Whoop for Whooper, and I totally get that. I get that there's people that like to grind that stuff out. There's people that want a shiny hunt every day, all day. There's people that just want to do battles. There's all sorts of different people that want to play games in a different way. That game, not for me, not my thing. Whoop for Whooper says, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon are top 3 main series Pokemon games ever. Black and White 2 and Platinum being the other 2. I haven't played Ultra, but Sun and Moon are good. They were a little too easy and a little bit too on rails. Black and White 2 and Platinum being the other 2. I don't think I played Black and White 2 either, but I played Black and White. I mean, both good games. Any of the main series Pokemon games, pretty good. I mean, it's just how they are. They could be a little bit more difficult. It'd be nice if there was some sort of difficulty slider or settings that you could change. But yeah, we have Heart Gold, Soul Silver era of cards is the best set block ever. We got a dog barking in the background, so we'll go see what's going on. All right, we back. HGSS era of cards is the best set block ever. Prime cards are also underrated in terms of looks and actual market value with how low PSA 10 pop is on many of them. So yeah, Prime cards, level X's were both very cheap until recently. I really don't like the Prime cards. The level X's are like a better Prime card in my opinion. Some of the Prime cards are nice. I don't think they're bad cards by any means. But I don't think they touch the level X. They're kind of like the most comparable to the level X, and I feel like they're just not quite there. Not as cool as the Gold Stars or the level X. The Prime cards are just kind of, they're there. They're doing their thing. Black and White era full arts were the best full arts. Yeah, I probably agree. Gotta also keep in mind that Black and White era full arts were the chase cards of the era. So You'd have to compare those to other chase cards of other eras, I guess, to have sort of a realistic comparison, and even then it's hard to compare one era to another. Artist autos are overrated, and I think feel forced in terms of how people want to collect them. I think it's more hive mind interest rather than general interest in actually wanting the artist to sign a card for them. And being a long-time Pokemon card collector and sports card collector, autos feel out of place for Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know. Autographs are not really my thing. Different story if I was there and they signed something for me. That would be cool. That would be a cool special thing to add to my collection. But that's about it. Collect what you enjoy, as always. I appreciate everyone's preferences to what they enjoy in their collections. Very good point. Wise Whaler says, I like HGSS over DP and Platinum for sure. Again, kind of disagree. lv.x all the way. Collector says there are only 2 4th gen eras, Stormfront and these sets that are not Stormfront. I guess that's one way to put it. Not all that glitters says the near universal Arceus is enjoyable and fresh new take that the Pokemon games needed, but the graphics could have been better and it could have been more polished. Reviews is the best thing that could have happened to this game. Think about it when they inevitably release the next game of this type, but with amazing graphics. Everyone who bought this game will buy the next one, and people who didn't buy Arceus because it wasn't quite the game it could be will also buy the next one. 9001 IQ played by Nintendo. So I don't know if that's really the case. My gripe wasn't necessarily with the graphics. It was more the gameplay just is not my thing. Filthy says, not specifically related to Pokemon, but certainly relevant. If you can look at a card and determine if it's in good shape or not, you are just as authoritative on its condition as PSA. Heavily agree. At least if you have some sort of experience in the hobby, I think even a few years, if you like take a serious amount of time to look into whatever you're looking at, and it's a specific area that you're familiar with, you should probably value your opinion more than PSA's, more than any grading company. But that's just me. So are all the graders at every other grading company and PSA slabs are ugly. They are not worth the premium over any other grading company. Grading in general isn't worth it, but that might not be so unpopular. So no, not at least not in my mind. I think grading is overrated, and like that's the thing too. I feel like a lot of the people that are new value grading a lot more. Maybe because their knowledge base isn't quite there yet, but if they stick around, they're maybe at that point they realize it's almost like it's like when you're a little kid and something happens and you're like, oh crap, I need an adult because I don't know what to do. But then you grow up and you realize that the adults are not all that responsible and or dare I say intelligent. so as an adult you're just like, oh crap, I could have probably just dealt with that myself. But that's kind of the same thing with Pokemon collecting. You kind of overvalue a grader's opinion. Short of like just having that extra ability to say like, okay, PSA says this is an 8, so it's an 8. That certainty or that value, ease of selling, or the extra like value added, because you can say, hey, look, it's third party. It's not me telling you that it's a mint card. It's PSA telling you it's a mint card, and they're the best. They know what they're talking about. I swear. I read a fan. I don't really care what the pop of a card is. I guess if you're selling it, Rarity makes something more valuable to others on the market, and it's worth considering. But that doesn't change how much I like the card. To me, the fact that others decided to submit a card to a grading company makes no difference to how precious I think the card is. Yeah, so, well, you also have to take, like, you can't just say, like, oh, it's low pop, because it could be some card that just nobody wants to submit because there's not really any value in it, that it's not a very popular card in general. Low pop could mean low popularity, and not just the fact that, I guess you have to look at, like, if you look at the total amount of cards that are graded, but then at the same time, if there's just less of that card in existence. So careful with pop numbers. Also, you could get some asshole like Rattle Pokemon who cracks all his cards out of cases, and then someone could be saying it's a pop 69 when really it's a pop 68. Eevee Team, I don't understand the appeal of paying more for a PSA1 versus a 2 or 3. I do understand grading your beat up Charizard from your childhood and keeping it forever, but buying someone else's beat up card and paying more for it makes no sense. So that's when you get into that weird realm of collecting a PSA set of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through 10. Don't ask me. I don't understand it. If anyone does, I don't want to hear about it because it'll blow my mind. If you can somehow explain to me how it's a valid target, but again, if that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. Pay some extra for some like weird PSA 3 that there's only one of, or purposely damage cards until you get a 3. Orion says, I'm sure this has been said more than once in this massive thread, but the longer I've been in this hobby, the more turned off I am by graded cards belong in a binder. Again, this leads back to, I think once you gain experience in the hobby, you realize the people grading the cards that are probably making minimum wage, or maybe they're making a little bit more than that, maybe they're making okay wages, maybe it's not so great in the areas that they're located. They don't pay a lot of money. They can't pay for the absolute experts, and chances are, if you spend a lot of time in the hobby, you're more of an expert than they are. Keep that in mind. Dev says, this is a hot take that I know I couldn't post on Insta without starting major shit. Maybe different here. Nobody grades their cards for protection. I hear this all the time, and I swear it's just hipsters trying to convince themselves they aren't grading their cards for profit. I'm not increasing its value because I used XYZ grading, right? You made an even dumber decision and are now trying to justify it. Changes nothing. Subtake. There isn't a single reason to grade a Pokemon card other than increasing its value. Cases aren't waterproof, can all crack relatively easily, and don't protect them from sunlight. There are actual cheaper ways to protect your cards from damage. The sun and water, nobody does them. I will say, though, I don't see anything wrong with wanting to increase the value of your collection. However, people stating that they grade their cards for any other reason are simply lying, in my opinion. So I think here you're forgetting the fact that many people don't know what they're doing. And you'd be surprised how many people have told that it doesn't protect, moisture and sunlight are still a risk to your card if they're not airtight. People don't get that. They think like, oh, it's sonic welded, so I can bring it scuba diving with me and go to the beach. What if I want to bring my Charizard to the beach so he can use solar beam? No, not the case. So I think you're overestimating how much people know. Usually if people are saying they're doing it for protection, they're probably pretty new to the hobby and don't realize that, hey, it doesn't really offer additional protection. There are other reasons. I mean, some people just have a favorite Pokemon or a favorite card that they want in the graded slab. By all means, if they want to spend the money to do so. In my opinion, it's a waste, but in their opinion, if that's what they want and that's what they want to collect, if that's how they want to have it, who's going to stop them? SM Pratt says, the entire selling point for me to buy PSA membership ages ago was protection. Well, there you go. So even Scott, when he first got in, apparently was buying graded slab in his dabs for protection. So I think it's just a new person thing that like people don't realize. It does. I mean, in terms of rigidity, I guess it's just as good as like a one touch or something like that. I don't think I was even selling when I bought my membership. I've tried one touch cases and every other option, but a graded card is the most complete. So you also got to remember back then with the membership and everything else, like grading cards was extremely inexpensive. And if you were in that bunch where they were first grading as an extra super cool way to collect, then that's the thing. But when a big difference between paying $5 back then, and I don't know what the high was on the PSA stuff. It was like $100, and now it's down to $50 if you win the grading lottery or whatever the hell. Parker, Mr. Parker, does it count as grading if you choose authentic only for the label? I guess that would just be authenticating, but probably still falls into the grading category if people are going to say they're grading their cards. Grading it authentic. Josh B says, Team Rocket was the worst WotC set with unexciting cards, and I can't understand why it gets so much love. Even the chase cards like Dark Charizard, Dark Blastoise, and Dark Dragonite are just okay. I remember the sheer disappointment as a kid if I went to Woolworths at the weekend to spend my pocket money on 2 boosters, and Team Rocket was the only packs they had. Blah. So I don't think I'd ever thought that of Rocket. Definitely thought that of like your tops cards. Even I think base set 2, legendary collection, that sort of stuff, like with the reprints. Base 2 especially, because I'm like, oh, okay, there's no base set pack, so I gotta get base 2, and the 2 symbol felt really bad. It's like the opposite. It's like getting a downgrade. Not only is it not first edition, which we didn't even have or really know about base first because we didn't have it here. It just wasn't a thing. But yeah, it's the 2 symbol that felt the worst. But I mean, it was still Pokemon cards, so we were very happy to get anything regardless. Nish says Web is the best looking E-Series set. I don't know, in terms of like best E-Series set, if I had to pick, the Versus series is good. I like the trainers on the cards, and Versus did that. I like Gym Challenge, I like Gym Heroes, like Versus, and then recently with character rares, that kind of is bringing me back to that. I love the character rares. Best thing Pokemon has done in a long time, maybe ever. Next, Parker, Mr. Parker, last but not least, says there's no such thing as a junk slab. Hard to disagree. I mean, in your personal opinion, it can be nothing's a junk slab if it's something that you graded just because you want to keep it. But in terms of I think anything that you spent more on the card plus the grading fee comes back, doesn't sell for that amount, junk slab. Even worse, we're going to call it a junk slab plus, when the value of the card and in the holder doesn't sell for the grading fee. That's a junk slab plus. That's where you're just straight up losing money, plus giving away a card. That's what it comes down to. Maybe we can have some other criteria there. When the card doesn't sell for what it sells for, like in a near mint too. If it's like a 7, if it doesn't sell for near mint price, or if it's an 8 and it doesn't sell for near mint price, that's a rattle junk slab. And I'll take those all day, every day. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time. Join the Discord. Let me know below if you disagree, agree, what you want to see.